and welcome to the North Country Community College Moodlerooms Gradebook Setup video. In this video, we will focus on how to create your gradebook for your Moodlerooms classes. In my opinion, the gradebook is the most complicated feature of the Moodlerooms course, and so we'll spend some time going through each of the features and looking at which feature matches up with different grading styles. At this point, all official recording of student grades is still through the faculty portal, and so you will have to transfer your grades from Moodlerooms into the faculty portal gradebook. I would suggest keeping a separate gradebook either way, whether it's through the portal or an Excel sheet, just to make sure that as you get used to the Moodlerooms gradebook, there aren't any calculation errors for student grades. So we're back to the Modern World Literature course that we set up in previous videos, and just make sure that your editing button is on. Although you can do some gradebook features without the editing being turned on, I find it's easier to turn that button on when I first go to do anything in Moodlerooms. So there are two ways to access the gradebook. You can scroll down to the end of your course and you'll see Gradebook under the Course Tools section, or you can simply click on the Admin button and go to Grades. So here's a blank gradebook, and we just have one student enrolled in the course at this point, the test student. You'll see a number of different areas which you can tab to here, or you can use the drop-down menu up here and access those same areas. And most of these are different views and different pages you want to go to when you're setting things up. So we will go to the Setup page and go ahead and begin to set up the gradebook for this course. We're in Setup under Categories and Items. And you'll have an option. You can set up your gradebook ahead of time at the beginning of the course, or you can create assignments and quizzes, and those assignments and quizzes, as long as you have marked the graded section when you set them up, will automatically be added to your gradebook. If you haven't already set up the categories in the gradebook, those assignments and quizzes will be put into the uncategorized portion. And then as you set up categories, you can move those into the categories in which they belong. So we will set up the gradebook from the beginning. And as you can see, one assignment that I've already created earlier has appeared in the gradebook since it is a graded assignment. And yet it's not underneath a category. It's just in the broad category for the whole course under Modern World Literature. So there are a number of different strategies you can use to set up your grades, and to find those features you go over here to Edit and Edit Settings. And at this point I'm going to set up the category aggregation for the entire course, and so I'm not going to name it a different category. I'm going to keep it Modern World Literature. And here under Aggregation, you'll see a number of different options for how to calculate grades, and while we'll go through a few of them, you can see that the question mark will explain how each aggregation method works. So I'm going to choose one of the more popular ways to calculate grades, which is the weighted mean of grades, and so that will be for the whole course. And weighted mean of grades allows you to create categories that will be worth a certain percentage of the overall course grade. And so I'll save those changes. And you can see the course total will be the weighted mean of grades. Now we'll go ahead and set up our individual categories. And Moodlerooms makes it pretty easy. Under here you see Add Category or Add Grade Item. We'll start by adding your categories. And the first category I will create is exams. And again, you can choose the overall calculation method, or you can use that consistently throughout the course, or you can choose different aggregation strategies within each category. For our setup purposes, we will keep this weighted mean of grades, since I may want to make my exams worth different weights within the grade category. I will keep the maximum grade at 100 and use percentages to adjust how much weight is given to each assignment. And I'm going to let Moodlerooms automatically adjust my weights for me based on my setup, and so I'm going to leave this blank, and I will allow students to view the course percentages, and I don't want to lock that yet because I may make some changes. So I'll go ahead and save that. And as you can see, exams is under the course category, and we have an option now to create a weight for the category of exams, and I'll make this 40% for now and save those changes. Okay, and we'll set up all of our categories first, and then we'll go ahead and add individual grade items within those categories. The next category I would set up for this course would be papers. So again, call that papers. I'm going to keep weighted mean of grades and save those changes. And we'll make papers worth 40% as well. And we can create another category. We'll call this one assignments. Save changes. And we'll do one last category and call that discussion postings and save those changes. And notice I have not yet adjusted my weight for those last two categories. We can do that now. We'll call assignments 10% of our overall course grade and discussion postings 10%. And again, save changes. So as you'll notice, the definition of literature assignment is not categorized at this point because I added that assignment before I set up my gradebook. We can easily move it into the proper category by moving over here to select, and this is where you notice you can select all or none within this category. I want to just select this definition of literature assignment, scroll down to the bottom, move selected items to. I'm going to put that under assignments where it belongs. And now we can check and make sure that definition of literature is under the assignment category. So at this point, we have our categories set up. Our totals equal 100 in terms of weight. So we can go ahead and add some grade items. And again, you can add them now or you can add them as you create them. Either way, Moodlerooms will move them into the gradebook if you create an assignment that needs to be graded. So let's say we would set up exam 1 in the first category. And since I'm using weighted mean of grades and I'm not using point values, I'll keep the maximum grade 100 and the minimum grade 0. I do want to make sure I put exams in the correct category. So exam number 1 would go in the exams category, and I'll save changes. And there it appears under exams. We can add the second grade item, exam number 2. And let's say I forgot to put the grade category in here and just added exam 2 without specifying. You can still see it still shows up. However, it's not in the right category. We'll just quickly move it to the proper category. So whatever setup you create, you can easily adjust if you change your mind or you make a mistake. So at this point, exam 1 and exam 2 are worth the same percentage points within the category. I'll add our final exam. And we'll try to make sure it's in the right category from the get-go. Since this is the final exam, I would like to weight it more heavily than the other exams, and so I will make that worth twice as much as the other 2 exams, and then save changes. So I've kept the percentage values 1, 1, and 2 here, but you could also do 10%, 10%, and 20% to add up to 40. Either way, Moodlerooms will calculate this the same way because all of these are in relation to other items within the category. And so however it makes more sense for you to weight them, you can do that and the calculation will remain the same. So I might do the same thing with papers. Add the paper grade item, although I've just been prompted to stay on the page or leave the page. And if this prompt comes up, it's often because you did not save your changes. So I'm going to click Stay on Page. I'm going to save my changes. And then add another grade item. So let's say paper number 1. And we'll put that under papers. Save our changes. And you can see it's in the correct spot. I will keep the weight the same. We'll add 2 more papers. And this one I'd like to be worth a little bit more. Save that change. And then we'll add paper number 3. And the third paper will also be worth more than the other 2. And save that change. So you can see it's easy to adjust weights and easy to add both categories and assignments. We'll move down to discussion postings. And you'll see I made discussion postings a simple weighted mean of grades aggregation method. And I did that since I want all of my discussion postings to be worth the same point values or percentages. And so I'd like to keep that. And then I don't have to add particular weights for each assignment. As I add each discussion posting, Moodlerooms will calculate it with an equally distributed weight value. So again, make sure it's in the right category, save the changes, and we'll add 1 more. And you can see there's no option to weight these differently, and so Moodlerooms will calculate these all the same. And so at this point, your gradebook is set up, and you have a lot of control over how many assignments to create in each category and then what those weights are. And so that is the weighted mean of grades aggregation strategy combined with the simple weighted mean of grades. The next aggregation strategy I will show you is called natural. In previous versions of Moodlerooms, it was referred to as the sum of grades. And so I'll do that by adjusting the aggregation strategy for the whole course. So I'll go to Edit Settings, and instead of the weighted mean of grades, I will go to Natural. Go down here, Save Changes. And you can see we have a similar layout. You still have weights within categories, with the exception of our simple weighted mean of grades category. But I'm going to change the settings for these categories to natural, or in a previous version, sum of grades. And you'll see this looks a little bit different. Let me change all of these to avoid confusion. And you'll notice Moodlerooms has done some adjusting there. Okay, so all of our categories are now in the natural aggregation strategy. So here's how you can combine point values and then calculate grades using points and number of points per assignments, and also weights for each of your categories and assignments. So let's go ahead and create the weights that we created in the first version of the gradebook setup. Save those changes. And now we'll look at how we might want to adjust these based on a point values system. So we'll go ahead and edit settings. And let's say that exam 1 we want worth 100 points. So we'll keep that the same. Well, that was exam 2, so let's keep exam 1 at 100, and then we'll make exam 2 worth just a few more. So the maximum grade would be 150, 150 points. I don't want it to be extra credit. I want it to be part of the regular grade calculation, so I will uncheck extra credit. And you can see here now there are some adjustments in these points in the category, and so I want to keep it so that my final exam is still worth twice as much as the first exam, and so I will adjust that, uncheck extra credit. Moodlerooms does default to the extra credit option when you add point values in this category. And as you can see here, Moodlerooms has adjusted the points so that there's a total number of points here, and then it's adjusted percentages so you can see how much more weight you've attributed to each of these assignments. And so you would go ahead and do that throughout all of your assignments if you chose to, or if you want all of these weighted equally within a category, you can keep them the same point values. Okay, so we'll save those changes. And now we have our gradebook set up in the natural aggregation method, which allows you to use both points and percentages. We can go back to the view, and you can see each of our categories are set up here. And if we wanted to see each of the assignments within those categories, we can scroll through here and look at different views. If we wanted to see the entirety of the gradebook, you would see your students here, and then you would see each assignment broken out with its respective grade in each of these categories. And you can scroll over to the end, and then you would see a course total here. So those are the basics of the Moodlerooms gradebook setup. And in other videos, we will look at navigation and how to grade assignments, either using the gradebook feature or going to the assignments and grading them from within the assignment section. I hope this video has been helpful. Thank you.